So hello and a very good evening to one and all present here. I hope my voice is audible and the screen sharing is fine. Do let me know over the chat box. Okay, thank you so much, Amit. Thank you, Agastya. So yeah, all of us have written this paper, right? So we got. So I wrote the paper here in Chennai. So I got to meet around 10 students also. So I'll be talking with the exam with their perspective as well. And in today's session, we have Shweta who's been taking CAT. I think it's the third time. You have already met her when we're discussing about Snap in general. So she'll also be here. Hello, Shweta. Are you there?
Hello, ma'am. Yeah, hell of an introduction with cat 3 times. Yeah, that's me.
Right. It's good now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So yeah, starting off with this. So most of us, we have all taken the test one slot that happened from 2 to 3 o'clock today. Okay, so expected, first of all, there was no change in the pattern, right? Uh, we had 15 questions in the verbal part. We had 25 questions in the LR part, and in the quants we had around 20 questions. So total of 60 questions to be done in 60 minutes. So no big change here. Now, let us go into the sections one by one. Okay, and I'll discuss it from my point of view also, and we'll hear it from Shweta's point of view also. Okay, and you guys also put in, yeah, Ranit, I'm coming. Yes. So you also can put in on your chat box as to how many you could attempt and how the paper was and all. Okay, let's take it as a discussion. So first of all, in the verbal section, if we notice now, I think the level from didn't change much. Whatever had been coming the snap paper so far, the mocks that we have been doing now, the level remained the change, remained the same. And I can say that this particular verbal section was around easy. Okay, among the 15 questions, the distribution of questions were like there were two questions based on compound words. Do you remember the compound words, my dear? I think one was something related to nobody. I don't remember all the options, huh? And the other was courtyard. Yes, correct. Hmm? So two questions were based on that. And then you had one vocab, not one, you had 2 to 3 vocab based questions. In one, you had a spelling, okay, and then the other one was a synonym for a particular word. And I think that word was
Bewitching.
bewitching, right?
Yeah.
So this spelling, okay, for most of us were unfamiliar with the word that was counterterms. Okay, so we would have been a little bit unfamiliar with that. It was okay to omit this question, okay, or take a guess, whatever, right? So totally 4 questions here, and you had, I think, one question on modal verbs. That question you had assertive. Choose the line that has the assertive modal verb. Okay, so this also, if you knew only, you could have done it. So this also, you either take a guess or omit it. These two questions could have been okay. And then there was another one question which could have been omitted or guessed. That was based on which of those do not have an object. Negate question, which of those do not have an object based question. So I think now, among all the 15 questions, okay, only these 3 questions were a little bit of difficult level, moderate or difficult level. So for a normal average student, I mean, okay, but if you knew it, well and good. But otherwise, for a normal student, average student, these were the 3 questions that would have been difficult. Other questions were based on conjunction. There was one conjunction based question. Okay, then you had to identify the tense. One question was identifying the tense. And then there was one fill in the blanks, which actually required to fill in with the right adjective or the right adverb. So there was that question. Then there was one question which asked you to figure out which word actually has a prefix. And I think only one word had a prefix there, so it was very easy to identify. And then, yeah, one question on direct indirect speech as well. Okay. So, Shweta, which was that one in the fill in the blanks? Okay,
Yeah, there
so
was one related
uh,
to tense.
yes, yes, yes. There was another fill in the blanks also, which was related to tenses. Correct. The first half of the sentence had that fill in the blanks, and the second part was in past
Yeah,
tense or something. No? So that one, yes. So and then direct to indirect,
yeah, yeah.
that question was there. So, I think for the
Agastya, past perfect is identifying the
yes,
tense.
identifying the tense, the answer for that correct, Agastya. It was past perfect. Okay. So otherwise, I think, and there was one proverb based question. There was one proverb based question. Okay, and I think that proverb was do not judge the book by its cover. And you had to choose one of the examples given below, which clearly depicts the meaning of that. Huh? Yes. So that one you had to go ahead with that, right, Aranit? Okay. So see, overall, now, you guys tell me how was this paper? I think the three that I pointed out, other than that, all the questions were almost easy. Yes or no? Do you agree with that or not? And Shweta, you also tell me, Shweta, how was this part verbal for you?
Yeah. Ma'am, I don't think Snap just gave us any surprises this time. It
Hmm.
was a perfectly regular Snap paper for verbal section, of
Huh.
course. Of course, a few questions were pretty new. Like it had like 6 or 7 lines, and you had to figure out which one was that. Instead of
Yes.
reading comprehensions, we had something like that, which was again easy, but took us a little bit time to familiarize ourselves with that.
Hmm.
But verbal section was actually the easiest in the
Correct.
paper.
So out of the three, the verbal was the easiest part.
Yes,
So out of these 15 questions now, anywhere around 11 to 12, okay, I would say 10 to 12 correct answers was definitely good. Okay, so I would always say 11 to 12, my dear, just keeping in mind the average students also, so 10 to 12. Okay, so 11 to 12 would have been a good attempt in this. Now let's then move on to the LR section. In the LR section also, I don't think we found any thing that was new. Okay, so in the LR, but I think that there was one question which actually was wrong in the synonyms, my dear. So can we expect, Krishna, can we expect the same topics in the remaining two slots? No, Krishna, you cannot expect the same topics because you do not have a template like this kind of questions are coming. You cannot predict that. Okay. So that's what I spoke in the general snap discussion as well. And again, telling you here as well. Okay. So I'll come to that during the end also. So don't worry about it, Krishna. I'm coming. So synonyms, sorry, syllogism. So syllogism, now there were two questions on syllogism, and I think now that CIO CTO based question, there was some question based on that syllogism. That
yes,
question, now I think that was wrong.
that
Okay.
was wrong.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that question was definitely wrong, and every time this happens in the snap paper, one or two questions are bound to get.
Yeah.
So,
In
uh,
every slot, you have at least one question which is incorrect.
hmm. So here I think we had
And
to.
this is a typical snap paper, like no surprise. Yeah, we have to.
Will that be considered wrong, correct or wrong in the
They
result?
usually give you 1 mark if you've
They give
attempted
you
that
marks
question.
usually. They usually give you marks. Okay, so don't worry much about it. And two questions. So both were actually easy, but the second one options were like wrong. So this thing. So otherwise, both would have been a easy shot. Okay, and then I think now you had around 10 questions on critical reasoning itself. And in critical reasoning, you had questions which are related to arguments that strengthen. Okay, and you had questions based on course of action. You had questions based on a situation given to you and what would you do at that particular moment. Okay, so yeah, and that's what the course of action. And you also had questions which are based on cause effect. So almost this was a proper mix of all the critical reasoning questions. So around 10 odd questions were there on critical reasoning, and most of them definitely were easy. Okay, so here itself now you could have scored the most if you had at least practiced critical reasoning a little bit and gone. So this was where you could, because we knew that critical reasoning is a place where you are going to get more number of marks questions. So had you prepared this on that on this partner, so definitely you could have scored a very good number here. And I think apart from this, no, there were two number series questions. Let me just, I had noted down the questions also. Number series questions. There was one where you had -3, then 0 and something. Okay. Yeah, no, GP of 2, that was in, run it, that was in the quant section, my dear. That GP of 2 was in the quant section. So number series, another one you had something like last two numbers were 169, 49. But again, these two were hard to predict. So if you had omitted these two, fine, my dear, because this would have actually taken so much of your time. But there was one alpha numeric series, something like coding decoding. So that particular series was easy, where you had something like G, J coming in, and some you had in between some special characters and all. So this was actually a doable one. So this is very, very doable. You could have done it. See, I don't remember which option exactly. I don't have such a great memory, run it. But yeah, I was busy noting down the questions and all, okay, in my mind. So this was it one. Okay. And then blood relation. This time you had around three questions. Uh, So that 169.49 was alternate prime. Yeah, looks like that. 13 and then 11, 7 years, correct. So very good, Siddharth. But I didn't take that much of time to go through it that well, my dear. So very good. So yeah, it looks like a alternate prime. Very good. So 7 square here, 11 square here, and so on, right? Hmm. Okay. Huh. So for one, I think grandson or grandmother? I think that they had a grandson, grandmother, that one relation question was there. And then there was another one also. Okay, and one more was there, blood relations with arrangement. The question where five sons and
Yeah,
five
with some
daughters were
Bahubali
there.
and all of
This
that.
particular question, definitely you should have left it and gone ahead. If you had sat and done this, then you would have wasted so much of your time, right? Even if it was doable, I don't advise you on doing such questions in the snap paper. And instead of giving north south for this, they had given you the geographical this thing, right? Sri Lanka's relation with India, and then Haryana and Punjab. So those were the, so the moment you saw too many entities coming in, the length going higher, you should have omitted it. So, and yeah, apart from this, I think you also had one puzzle based question where inside squares, no, you had one, two, I think three numbers were there, and then one alphabet was here. So the logic for that was, I think you had to add up all these three numbers, sum of the alphabets plus one would give you this particular alphabet. I think it was that.
Yeah.
Correct, exactly. Mayuresh, and there was another one, input output also. Correct. Input output, have I noted it? Yes, yeah. Input output. Correct. There was an input output. Okay, if you had seen this, no, this input output was actually a easy question. But again, if you people dreaded input output, you could have left this and gone away. Okay, no problem. But if someone has been doing input output problems now, correct, Agastya, correct, yeah. So for this na input output, it was something like see, first into three they did, and then after that they picked up the first two digits, and then did some. You introduced five, then again they did half of the first two digits, and then they did -3 and added a 3 also. So that was the output. So none of the options actually matched in this. So it was actually pretty easy if you figured out the logic. Okay. So overall, I think, yeah, there was
Ma'am,
one.
there was one more question.
Which one?
That leaf, seed, apple.
Correct, correct, correct. Yes. So there was one question, yeah, input output. Right, wait a minute. Input output. Another question based on truth or who's truth, like who is speaking the truth, and like those question. And then there was another question. Arrange them in the proper order, like seed, fruit, leaf, tree, and all those stuff. So you arrange them, you get a number, and then one more set was given. You arrange them, get the difference between the second one and the first one. So that particular question was also there. Okay, so I think overall this was it. Now anything else here I'm missing out? And I think there was one clock based question also in LR. The
Yeah.
clock based question in LR was they had given you something -14 or something for this, I think, no answer.
-14 was the answer. I got
Minus was
-14.
the
Yeah.
answer. There were 2 to 3 conditions given. So at the end, there was one operation given. Correct. Distance of the hour hand from the minute hand when the conditions are precisely mentioned. that particular question.
Yeah.
So out of 25 questions here, I would say that 18 to 20 correct questions should have been there. 18 to 20 questions. 18. 18 is a very decent score. Very decent score. So 18 questions you've got it right. And attempts definitely should have been a little bit higher, my dear. Okay, so 8 questions right with plus 4 extra questions. That would have been good. And then coming over to the next part, that is quants. I think this particular LR section also, mostly I think all of you would agree that we could just put it as easy to moderate. It was not completely moderate. Yes, there were one or two questions that were moderate or a little bit difficult. Okay, like the number series question, the input output. Okay, and then that arrangement one where that Sri Lanka India one all was given. So those were the questions that had to be omitted out. Now, if you clearly had omitted out those questions, you might have found that you had proper time for the others and you would have done them well. Okay, and obviously in a few critical reasoning questions that you had to take a chance, right? So what do you feel about this section, Shweta? Do you have the same feel or how is it?
Yeah, for sure. Because compared to verbal, it was slightly of higher difficulty, but then it was a very, very doable section,
Hmm.
and you can heavily rely on this section for your score. It was such a kind of a section where you can maximize your attempts at the
Correct.
same time, build accuracy, and catch up on the scores that you're probably leaving on the other two sections.
Yes. And like Ranit, I think 2 days back had sent me a question asking, ma'am, this is taking me around 5 minutes to solve this LR question. Okay, do these kinds of questions come in the CAT paper? I mean, in the SNAP paper. So I think no, this was clearly like this example of this question. This also to sit and solve you would have taken around 3 minutes roughly. So these kinds of questions do come, but identify them and leave it. Okay, so LR and VA, na, there was no surprise element at all. Everything was of the same category that we have been getting in the past year papers. The only thing is, I think calendars was missing here. Nothing else, na. Calendars was a topic that came in every slot initially, but this time it was not there.
No calendars, yeah.
That was the only change, I think. Otherwise, nothing in the level of
Hmm.
questions and everything. So no surprise factor this. But then I think now most of you who might have then come to the quants paper, I think then you would have got a blow. Yes or no?
Disastrous paper for quants. Ambiguity was there
Yeah, had you relied completely on,
throughout. A lot of options were incorrect.
yes, then you would have noticed that this actually gave a blow on the face. Okay, so I think
Yes.
it was a very difficult paper in the like quant section also. But I think no, overall, comparatively to all the like snap mocks that we have been giving and the questions that have been coming to us, this was a little bit on the lengthier side,
Mhm.
1 or 2 steps extra, not more than that, but even that accounts to 10 to 20 seconds extra. So that is where the problem was. And most of the questions, yes, as you clearly said, had none of these as the option. So thinking for that extra 10 seconds on whether to mark this or my option is not coming, okay, that actually created a problem. So these were the only two things here. Okay, yes, correct. Okay, so you are saying that only 2 to 3 questions could be solved under 1 minute. I wouldn't definitely agree to that, my dear. I wouldn't definitely agree to that. But yeah, there were a fair number of questions, around six, I can say, that they could have been solved within. See, I'll tell you, okay. The easy questions first we'll start with, okay, whatever remember. There was a GP question. Yes, you couldn't rely too much on approximation, correct. So GP question was a number of term space question, no? Where the GP was 2, ratio, common ratio was 2. So 3, 6, 12, and I think 192 or something was the last one. Yes, correct. So 7, yeah, correct, my dear. So that one. Then there was one question on mixtures. So mixtures question also could have been done very, very easily. Okay. And then after that, there was one question on probability. 40 data was given and you have to figure out where how many of them stayed at least 7 kilometers away from the school. So that one was 0.75. Again, that was also not there in the option. So that probability based question was there. And then there was one clock based question which was directly based on the formula. If you had seen clock based question, that formula na 11 by 2 m minus 30h, that one theta is equal to. So using the formula, this particular question, no, clock based question, this was again very very easy. And there was one log based question. I think that was something like plus 25 something it came. Yeah, that log based question, this was also very, yes, plus 20 for that one. And then another question that was easy here was a HCF based question. There was an HCF based question. Okay, I'm talking only about questions that could be solved only around 1 minute. Yes. So this particular question, now the difference method would have helped. You might have seen that the lowest difference was 7. Immediately in between any two numbers, then you could have taken it. So that 7 would have been there, and then you would have divided and just added up all the values. Okay, Shambhavi, I think that was 6, my dear. I think that was 6. I don't fairly remember all the answers. The mixtures one, I think it was 6. Okay, yes. And then we had another question which was quite easy. There was an AP based question. Now, this AP based question, now had you solved using the variable, this AP question, like the xth term was P and the yth term was Q. This question, now I have told you, whenever in AP you are getting questions which do not have too much of conditions, directly take a AP and go ahead. You could have just taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and then taken the xth term as the second term and the yth term as the fifth term, then substituted. Within 30 seconds you would have got the answer. First one or something, it's the first or second something matched it. Okay, by 2, yeah. So first, I think the first one matched, right? First option matched. So I can say that all of these definitely were doable within 1 minute. Okay, and there were some more easy problems also, especially that race problem was easy. Okay, then what else was there? There was one ambiguous PNC based problem, my dear. There was an ambiguous PNC based problem where they had given you 7 digits and they had asked to figure out how many 7 digit values are possible. But again, the clauses were not properly mentioned. Repetition allowed, without repetition. So when clauses are not mentioned, then it becomes little bit ambiguous. So this question was a little bit ambiguous there. Okay, and then you had another question on your compound interest. Huh. So there's one question on compound interest. That compound interest based question, actually, yeah, 25. That actually could have been done logically if you knew successive percentage change. First year 8, overall it was around 50 percentage. Overall 2 lakh something, no? So 50 percentage was the growth. So first 12, then again it was 8, so 20, and around 22 something like that. Then if you had to put 25 only, then it crossed actually 50 in successive percentage change. So that way, you could have guessed it also and then done it. Okay, so there was a this component is based question, and then there was another question. Correct. Yes, Agastya, this was actually the easier one. There were two families, okay, like the Patel family and something. There was a family based question.
Chawla family.
Directly you have to take 175, and then you take number of people as A and this side number of people as B, and then some relation was given. So if you had equity, you would have got the ratio of A and B. That also was pretty easy. Okay, so these were all among. So any average student, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 questions was doable for any average student. Okay, so race, then compound interest were some of the other easier doable questions, and there were 2 questions from the DI. Okay, so DI, if you found that it was difficult because there were data as to how many are leaving, how many are joining. So if you found it a little bit time consuming, you could have omitted it, no issues. And then, yeah, I wouldn't say it was ambiguous, my dear. It could have been done. It was not so ambiguous because I think the question was based on minimum and all. So it was okay. Okay, it was not ambiguous. And a string question.
The park wala
We're talking about
question.
the geometry question, my dear. So that actually was again ambiguous. The options were wrong, right?
Wrong, yeah. It
The
was wrong.
options were wrong here. I think there was a circumcircle, and yeah, 60 root 3 should have been. I know I would have known that each side was 20 root 3. Correct. This one.
Also, ma'am, there was another question where you had to arrange the 2-digit numbers and then subtract the absolute difference from that.
No, but I didn't even look at that. I think there were two-digit numbers, right? Two-digit numbers that we place next to each other. Something one question.
Yeah, something related to that. And then the difference was given, and you had to calculate the sum of the two numbers or something like that. I wouldn't recommend anyone to sit on it. If there is someone who had done it and gotten the answer, good for you. But then it was
Was it
again,
time consuming? Did it take more time?
ma'am,
Did
sorry.
it take more time? Was it time consuming?
It took time for me as someone who is very bad in quant. It took time for me. I'm not sure about the others.
Okay. So fine. So this one, okay. And then there was one trigonometry based question. So
I agree, Sridev. Yeah, it took actually some time to understand the question itself, and I ended up not getting the answer. So,
that's what
yeah.
I said. If you're
Yeah.
not able to comprehend the question, omit it and go ahead. That is not supposed to be done because to comprehend itself will take around 20 seconds, 30 seconds, in which another easy question could have been done.
Yeah.
Hmm? Or at least it would have been added up to some other mediocre question and then you could
Mhm.
have finished it up. So trigonometry also, again, it was related to speed of the aeroplane, right? Data was given, I think, in terms of like seconds and all. Yeah, elevation was given. First there was 60 degree, then 30 degree, and I think this one was for height was 4000 root 3. Correct? So it was a question based on that.
Ma'am, there was another one with a decimeter.
Correct. And I don't remember the answer for this, but though I had done it, na, but I don't remember the answer for this properly. Because it was one of the first questions, 960 something, I think. 960 because I think I also got 960, my dear, not 640. Okay, because it was one of the question that I did in the first case. And run it that, if you had attempted the pipes and cistern question, fine, okay, but again, I too found that was actually a little bit lengthier. Okay, because so much of data was given, numerical data was given, like you had to the capacity was there, then there was filling rate given to you, and another condition as to at what time it becomes 3 meters height or something. So much of data was given to confuse. So I think this was one of the questions that we should have omitted and gone, especially this question and this question were the ones that we should have omitted and gone ahead. Okay, so that was it. So that's what I remember from this particular section also. So algebra, right? Algebra model PN, this one, GP comes under algebra, AP comes under algebra, log comes under algebra. So three questions already now. Three questions already from algebra. Okay. So it is mostly well distributed. It was well distributed. And there was another one question which was based on linear relation. Remember, there was a pen problem. Pen problem. So that one, price of pens. So you could, if you had applied cost is equal, the total cost is equal to, again, I don't remember the answer, my dear, but the way to have done it, the total cost is equal to your fixed cost plus variable cost into number of things. If you had done this like this, or if you had gone via graph, whatever, my dear, both would have been perfect. Okay, so two equations would have been formed. From there you could have figured out the value of f and v, and then substituted for, I think, 130 pence. The answer was, no, so 130 into something, yeah, so 690, correct. 130 into 3, I think you got variable cost as 3 and fixed cost as 300 something, my dear. I don't remember too much of it. Yeah, so that was it. Okay, so overall this particular part was a bit lengthy here. So if you had done 12 to 13, a very good, 12 to 13, correct, a very, very good attempt. Hmm? So coming on to this, so I think I think all of you had the same idea on this particular section also, or do you have anything else, Shweta, or anyone else, if you want to put it on the chat box?
No. So when I was telling the last time about how the third slot in 2020 was actually very, very difficult,
Hmm.
um, I was talking about this kind of a quant paper,
Hmm.
basically.
Okay.
So
Hmm.
the quant part was definitely difficult for Snap level. So the general perception that everybody has towards Snap has been destroyed by this quant
Mm,
section.
correct.
So we cannot claim to be extremely easy. Yeah, it was a very lengthy quant section, like I've been telling, and yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say.
Right. So then, yeah, now I'll answer the questions on the chat box. So, Shambhavi, can we expect cutoff to be lower on the side? See, last time the cutoff was 43, right, for SIBM. So, definitely we can expect a lower cutoff by 1 or 2 marks, my dear. Okay. See, again, my dear, I'm putting conditions. Conditions applied. If the difficulty level around all the three tests is similar, because there is no normalization. So if you have similar or more difficult papers, okay, if it's easier, then whatever we are talking now would go for a toss. Okay, if the difficulty level remains the same throughout all the other three slots, or the other two slots, it is going to say, for example, increase, then I can say that getting 39 to 42, okay, this particular range would help you for SIBM. Okay, and anything minus 4 or 5 marks would be for SCMHRD. Okay, and overall in this paper, now, my dear, I would say that, see, 50 plus attempts, 50 plus attempts with a good accuracy above 85 percentage definitely would have been a good attempt. Okay, we should fetch you this particular score. Or else, okay, the moment I came out of the center, most of the students like I met, okay, they had attempted 45, 47, 48, some 50, 50, 51. Okay, but overall, no, general, most of them had attempted 45 plus. So if you are attending 45 plus and your accuracy level is greater than 90 percentage, okay, then well and good for you. Okay, and always note that whatever cutoffs I am stating right now is going to be only valid if the difficulty level remains the same throughout, or the next two slots are going to be a little bit of higher difficulty. If that turns out easy, then it's going to be a major problem. So now, if you all ask me, what about the next two slots? Is the pattern going to repeat? Okay, or can we expect similar kind of questions? Okay, see, always keep this particular difficulty in mind and try to practice of this difficulty and of a little bit of higher difficulty. Okay, so that in case the paper comes out to be a little more difficult also, you can manage it out well. Okay, in case it comes easy, then well and good for you. Always preparation for the worst is best. So please keep the general preparation mode minimal to this difficulty level and prepare. You still have, if you're writing it on the 18th, you still have 1 more week to go, and then if you're writing on 23rd, you still have around 10 to 12 more days to go, so you can have a very good preparation for that as well, right? So fine. So anything else you want to add, Shweta, or any other questions?
Oh my.
Any other questions, dear? Ma'am, how can we manage snap mocks with IFT mocks? So Ranit, I don't think you'll now have to take too much of snap mocks. Okay. So you will start preparing for IFT properly now. Okay. In 1 or 2 days, we'll come out with the IFT preparation session. So you can start with IFT properly. Okay. And snap here and there, 1 hour mock here and there. You can just keep okay. Not too much of necessary. Maximum 2 mocks within the next date. So Vignesh, ma'am, when will we get our scores? The scores will be out only after all the three tests are over, and the date on which they have declared to give the results, my dear. So before that, you cannot expect the scores.
And they don't have any concept of response sheet or filing an objection or anything of that sort.
Huh. And
So
I think even CAT came up with his response sheet only 3 years back. So it'll take a long time for Snap and all to become as
yeah.
transparent as CAT. Okay, so you can't expect that by this year. So, So Mayuresh, what should we do if you want to increase the number of mocks per section or number of attempts per section? See, if you really want to increase the number of attempts per section, you'll have to practice more At least sectionals, you keep on trying it out, okay? And whenever you're doing any questionnaire, take 30 questions or 40 questions and try to solve it within 40 minutes, like that, okay? So time based you try to do, if you really want to like get too high marks with that. So there's no other go. And one snap mock every alternate day in the morning. No, I don't think every alternate day you'll have to focus on this. Put your focus majorly on IFT, and then since you've already had one particular like go for this snap, no, it would be easy for you. So IFT preparation for quants, everything would help you for this also. So every 3 days, I think 3 days, or if you want to make it, or if you want to keep yourself busy, and then if you want to do more, do it alternate day, no issues. But that is not too much required. Snap alternate day, I don't think is required much. Okay, right. So I think we are done with how many? Ranit will come to that. I just give a day or two. Will come out. Okay, will not respond on at during this session, and not going to respond on WhatsApp also to anyone. Will come out within a day or two. Will come out with the IFT session. There will tell you what to do. Okay, fine. So fine then. So we'll wind the session. So thank you so much everyone, and thank you Shweta also for being there
Thank
to help us
you.
here. Thank you so much, dear. Good night to all of you.